All right. Good morning, Chavra. Welcome to Favorably. We're going to continue our Kfiyas in Likutey Halachos, Hashkama Sabayka Aleph, and we're in Tesvav, and we're up to V'al Kei Moshe Lo Yada. You know what that is? You see that? That's where we left off yesterday. David, you have the place?
Yeah.
Okay.
How good day.
All right. So we were discussing this yesterday. V'al Kei Moshe Lo Yada Adayin L'Chaven Heitev. So we were saying that Moshe Rabbeinu at that point didn't yet know how to determine exactly when Chatzos was. It's machlokes in the Gemara. One Mandamar says that he did know, one says that he didn't know. But let's see what he says now. But this is amazing. When Moshe Rabbeinu said to Parai, Kach Chatzos halayla, and that's how we were deriving that Moshe with this idea of Moshe Rabbeinu and the Gemara. It's the Gemara in Brachos on Daf Gimel, right? So that was before Matan Torah. So perhaps Moshe Rabbeinu didn't have the calculation using the inner light of the Torah to determine when the Chatzos was, right? V'lo yohaya adayin is arusa d'lasata. We didn't have that awakening from down here beneath in this world. There's something called an Arusa de Lasata and the Arusa de Leila. Familiar with the terms, right? The Arusa de Lasata is something that we do in awakening from down in this world. And then HaKadosh, and there's sometimes there's an Arusa de Leila. Right? I'll give you an example. The Arusa de Leila was Yitzias Mitzrayim. We didn't do anything necessarily to deserve it. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu had an awakening from on high to help us, to take us out, right? But there are certain times that we do something, as in the Sarus Leila, we do something down here, and because of that, we can have it's like reciprocal, that the Rebbeinu Shalom reacts to our doing down here. All right, you understand, right? Okay,
we did cry out to him.
Yeah.
But we didn't do anything to deserve it.
No. Before the Mak, at the first Mak, Adam. So we were crying out. True, yeah, we were crying out, but it was really an awakening from on high. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when it came to Karban Pesach, at that time we already did something, right? We already did Bris Milah. We already took the Karban Pesach 4 days before. We went through the ridicule of the Mitzrayim, right? And all that. We did something. Right, but we're saying, but at this point there was no Sarusta de Lasata. Ki lo yohaya adayin kol kach tzadikim she'amdu b'chatzos v'asku b'Torah, because you didn't have that many people, and at that time so many tzadikim that were able to get up at the chatzos and study Torah. Again, we had Torah. It wasn't the Torah that we have today, Baruch Hashem. But we know that Yaakov Avinu was learning Torah in Shem Ve'ever. Right, there was some type of Torah that they had. There was some type of teachings that they had at that time, even before Matan Torah. Right, we know that Avraham Avinu, he kept all of the Torah. Right, he knew about Pesach, he knew about all of these things. Avraham Avinu perceived them. It's an amazing idea. Do you know how that works? Because it's an amazing idea that because someone like Avraham Avinu was so kadosh. He sanctified himself in such a way that his whole essence was being connected to Hashem. That was his whole essence. His whole life was being connected to the Rebbeinu Shalom, and that's all he tried to do all his life. And he would run after people to try to do a chetz of them. Why? Not because he wanted necessarily to do the mitzvah. He did that because he just felt so connected to Hashem, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is always doing chesed, so he had to do chesed. So the Sfarim say that really Avraham Avinu was able to perceive in all of his limbs, he understood what the mitzvahs were. Right? And there was Rabbi Kramer has a book called Anatomy of the Soul. Right? Anatomy of the Soul. It's an amazing, amazing book. He spent a long time. He said that was one of the longest things, one of his biggest projects, because he had to research each thing. It was fascinating. But in there, you see, what do you see from in a book like that, The Anatomy of the Soul? That every part of our body is so intricately connected to to each and every mitzvah. Every part of our body is connected to something. So if someone has an ailment on their body, really means that they're lacking on a certain one of them, either the positive mitzvahs or the negative mitzvahs, right? Either the 248 positive commandments or the 365 negative commandments, and that's why they're having that problem, right? Makes sense? So someone like Avraham Avinu was able to perceive the things that were going to be because he was so in tune with the Rebbeinu Shalom. And again, it was HaKadosh Baruch Hu was istakel b'raisu b'rayayla, right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu looked in the Torah, and he created the world. So Avram saw everything in the world. He saw how it connected to Torah, and then he was able to perceive the different things, and that's how he was able to keep the whole Torah. But
that's how we say the Avos kept the Torah.
Exactly, because they were so connected to the Rebbeinu, they were so in tune. Yeah. They were so in tune with the world, with the Rebbeinu Shalom. So that's why they were able to perceive everything and perform the Torah even before the Torah was there.
Even more so than I heard that
Please.
as they end up marrying multiple wives, if they knew the Torah, if they were keeping the Torah and they knew it,
right?
Meaning they were so in tune with HaKadosh Baruch Hu that really multiple wives should be okay and permissible, and that was what maybe Hashem was makaven on, but he understood where we were going to be now.
Well, it's not even multiple wives. Avram, like Yaakov Avinu married two sisters.
Right.
He married more than that.
No, but I'm saying, the things like...
Two sisters not allowed. Two sisters not allowed.
Right, not allowed in the Torah.
Let's go with that.
But right. But again, this was before Matan Torah. And again, Yaakov Avinu obviously, he did everything correct. Yaakov Avinu was the Bechira Avos. Right. So we're not questioning anything that Yaakov Avinu did. And again, it wasn't his plan. It wasn't his plan to marry Leah. That was not his plan. Right. His plan was to marry Rachel. That was what his plan was. Right. But the fact that he married Leah, so really, Minat Torah, he was disqualified to marry Rachel. But that was before Matan Torah. And again, HaKadosh Baruch Hu always wants things. If you notice, look at the way David HaMelech was born. Right, through Rus, right? And where did Rus come from? We learned yesterday from Lloyd, right? Always, and the Zohar speaks a lot about this. Why did all these things? Look at the mice of Yehuda and Tamar, right? Yehuda and Tamar. Strange, all these strange things that happen in Torah, but all these things that are from what do you call it? Are only because HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to bring big neshamas into the world. He wants to bring big neshamas into the world, but there's always opposition from the other side. The other side doesn't like it. So Hashem brings the neshamas in through such a strange relationship, through something so bizarre that the other side says it's okay. Nothing will come from this. But the Rebbeinu Shalom does, again, HaKadosh Baruch Hu runs the world with his rules, however he does it.
It's like the creation of the nation of Israel.
Yeah.
It wasn't religious people that built Eretz Israel, but only,
of course.
No, but they were not so religious. They're secular.
Yeah.
But that was, it was a way for not to bring the Yetzer Hara or whatever.
Exactly. No. But look at the chesed. You can understand. It's really the chesed of Hashem. See, there are some Jews, like you said, that they were building the land, preparing it so we could sit here and learn Torah today. The Chalutzim, right? The pioneers. Yeah. The pioneers that came. So good. But look how HaKadosh Baruch Hu saw that these people, most of them were even against Torah.
Yeah.
They were against Torah, right? There's all the stories.
Whatever, yeah.
Whatever. Yeah. But yet HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in his great wisdom, he brought those people here, that these people are going to be the workers. And these are the people that they're gonna dig and build and
do it without resistance. There won't be resistance for them doing it because
exactly. No. But that's part of the Chesed Hashem. That Hashem gave them something that they can do, that they can have a tafkid in this world, whether they knew what they were doing or not. But they were doing something so amazing. But they didn't necessarily understand that. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu sees to everyone to give them something that they can have a chelik in Eretz Yisrael, a chelik in Klal Yisrael as well, even though they didn't even want to do that. But look how beautiful HaKadosh Baruch Hu is. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives them that Nekuda Taifa like we're learning. That they have that Nekuda Taifa. That they were able to build and do what they had to do. So okay, so this is all right. So now we're talking about the Isarusa de Lasata. All right, so okay now. Okay, because it was before Matan Torah. David, good morning. Because it was before Matan Torah, so people weren't getting up. They didn't understand the concept of chatzos at that time yet. Therefore, that time was difficult to be mechaven, to understand, to know exactly when the chatzos would be. Even according to the Mandama, that says that Moshe Rabbeinu did know the time of chatzos. He wasn't able to speak about it, even though he may have known, and I believe in my heart that Moshe Rabbeinu knew exactly when chatzos was, but because the people at the time were not ready to accept it, so he couldn't reveal it. There was a lot of things. There's a lot of things that Moshe Rabbeinu had that he had his relationship with the Rebbeinu Shalom that he didn't necessarily reveal to people at the same to everybody, right? Moshe,
He was trying to keep that side. I always heard, oh, Paro shouldn't have a time that you see. He couldn't even come at Katz.
No,
like saying he's coming around at midnight. So
no, it's the other way. No, it's the other way around. Yes, no. He said kachatzos. Why? Because he didn't want the Chatume Mitzrayim to say. Oh. He didn't want them to say, well, okay, albeit that HaKadosh Baruch Hu killed every Bechar, and he figured out that every single Bechar, who was a Bechar, the animals, and this, everyone, he figured all of that out, but he didn't do it at Chatzos. But he didn't do it at Chatzos. So Moshe Rabbeinu didn't want to detract from the greatness of Hashem. So therefore he said specifically, Kachatzos, so the Chatume Mitzrayim can't come back and say, well, it wasn't exactly on Chatzos. As if they would have known, right? You understand?
Meaning it wasn't really.
Of course, it was a financial legitimate, exactly. But he didn't want to give them a pay. He didn't want to give them an opening to detract from the greatness of the Rebbeinu Shalom. Okay, does that help? That okay.
Can I say something about chatzos?
Please.
Just
this is a chabura. We all have to speak about.
No, but just something that like. Chatzos isn't. It's not like we're not like having a debate over here that Moshe or David HaMelech, they didn't know when 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the afternoon was. If you think about what chatzos is, it's actually something that's beyond nature. It's beyond time. There's no point where you have chatzos because let's say you say chatzos is from 12 to 12:01. That's not chatzos. That's already into the latter part of the night, right? That's chatzos is like, when you have a corner. Does the tip of the corner belong to this side or this side?
Yeah, exactly.
Chatzos is something that's beyond nature. Chatzos is something that's beyond. So we're not talking about an exact minute, right? Because a minute is an expressive.
It's done. It's over.
It's something that's beyond.
Yeah.
Beyond time. So like what's this nekuda? So that's also the nekuda in ourselves. Finding the point of chatzos. It's elokus inside of us. It's something that's beyond nature. It's something that's above.
That's exactly. So we're saying finding that Nakuda Taiva in myself is beyond nature. It transcends everything. Because the world tells me I'm no good. My Yetzer Hara tells me I'm no good, but I can transcend. I can go past that, and I'm great. I'm good. That's the whole point.
It's a mystery in a sense.
Yes.
Beyond
no, but that's what the Rebbe said. He's going to say it again today. Our whole dependence depends on chatzos. How would it depend on chatzos? Because of this point. Because I know when everything seems so dismal and there's such destruction around, and I can't find anything, but I can conjure up to find that Nakuda Taiva in me.
Wow. Beyond space and time.
That's beyond nature.
B'dafka.
That's the malam in a teva.
Chatzos, not b'dafka chatzos, like as opposed to like a los hashachar. I could use that.
No. So Yossi, we spoke about this yesterday, the day before. The chatzos, in other words, the ideal time is to get up exactly at the chatzos. Right. And David HaMelech was able to do that because he had his kinar. We're going to say it in a minute, but okay. But if you can't get up exactly at chatzos, I'll reiterate this again. So get up an hour after chatzos. Get up 2 hours after. This is Rav Nosson said. 3 hours, but just get up before. At least it's the morning. And this way you can be the one to awaken in the morning so that the morning doesn't awaken you. All right, let's go. Okay. Maybe they'll make a mistake. There'll be a mistake, like you said a moment ago, Yossi. Maybe there'll be a mistake by the Chatumei Mitzrayim, and they wouldn't know when the Chatzos was, and they'll ridicule. Ki adayin because it couldn't yet be revealed. It could not yet be revealed. So whether or not Moshe Rabbeinu knew or he didn't know, it's irrelevant. It was before Matan Torah, and therefore Moshe Rabbeinu was not going to be Megala, this idea of Chatzos, because it was before Matan Torah. We'll leave it at that. Okay? So whether he knew or not, that's not the point. Now, Aval David have a yada, but David, the Gemara says, definitely did know. The Gemara, Megillah Daf Gimel, the Gemara speaks about this idea. Because he had his harp. Okay, he had that harp again on the windowsill of his bed. The koyach hakina nimshach me'atayra, and the koyach, where did the kina get its ability to play? It got it from the Torah. It was all from the Torah. Kamuva b'divrei Adeneinu Rabbeinu Zal, and the Rebbe says in Likutey Moran, which is a lesson Ches, which is the Torah on Chanukah, right? Ki hakina shel David Aya shel chamesh imen. David HaMelech's kina had 5 strands. There were 5 strands. Okay, I saw also 8 strands, but there's Lamala Minet Heva, but we're going with the idea of 5 strands now. Kineged Chamisha Chumshei Torah. So in other words, we just said that David HaMelech got his kina, got its strength from the Torah, and that's how it was able to play that nigun exactly at Chatzos via the northerly wind that was blowing on it. Where did it come from? Because of the power of the Chamisha Chumshei Torah. The 5 strings were connected to the 5 books of the Torah. And he would awaken himself from his sleep until he would know when to be mechaven. He was able to hone in exactly at that time by nekuda shel chatzos. Ki David hu machmas bechinas Mashiach. David Malka Mashiach, waiting for him any moment, a moment ever. Sha'isik tameh besikon nafshes Yisrael lo'ira mishinosam aydei bechina hanal. Right, the whole we know everyone Tehillim is so near and dear to every Jew. Why is that? Because it's David HaMelech crying out and about every situation. Who had a more difficult life than David HaMelech? Right, his own son Avshalom was trying to kill him. I mean, look, we all have problems. People have problems with their kids, but Baruch Hashem, our kids aren't trying to kill us. Right? Right? People have problems, okay? And look at with his whole life, even when he was a child, he was always rejected from his family. He was the shepherd. He was the one that couldn't be with everyone else. Wow! But David HaMelech teaches us, and if you really look at the Tehillim and you see and you really read the words, and you try to be mechavi, you try to put yourself in those words, you see how we fit in there so beautifully. It's amazing. Really, Tehillim is that, and that's what we're saying here. That's what David HaMelech was doing. He was Isaac in the tikkun of Nafshes Yisrael, the nefesh. He's not talking about the neshama, he's talking about the nefesh, the lower part, the nefesh of every single Jew. La'oira mishinasam, to awaken every Jew from their spiritual sleep, ayadei bechida, now from finding that nekuda taiva, which is the chatzos, when it seems the most darkest, dismal point. That's where you have to know to look for that nekuda taiva. So because there's ein shum yarish b'olam, never give up. Vayadei nekuda is taiva shemaitzi b'chol echad, through able to find that nekuda taiva in every single person. Every single Jew has a nekuda taiva. You have to find it. Umalame l'chol echad umeya b'libay sheyucha lechapes ulevakesh v'limsaya b'atzmei nekudas taiva tamid. How David HaMelech is saying that everyone has to search and request and they have to find. And everyone has it. Everyone has good. This is what we're trying. The Rebbe is trying to drill this into us now. Yes.
So it's basically, like we said before, that with the Chet HaEgel, that Moshe did the same thing in front of telling that there's Nekudat Tova in every Jew.
Yes.
So David HaMelech is doing it inside Israel. He's the one that...
Inside the Tehillim.
Inside the Tehillim.
Inside the Tehillim.
As a king...
The 10 songs at Tehillim. David HaMelech is singing.
But you're saying meaning Moshe did it on
Outside.
yeah.
In the Midbar.
In the Midbar.
Yeah, and David did it.
David is doing it here.
In Eretz is so beautiful.
He will be the one that...
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
The Chet HaEgel, you think you said earlier today?
What? No. Now we did a couple of lessons ago. We spoke about that. How that you want to remind? I'll just remember that by Chet HaEgel, so Moshe Rabbeinu, what do you call it? Was Hakadosh Baruch Hu said, "I'll destroy the Jewish people. I'll make Klal Yisrael with you." So Moshe Rabbeinu said to Rabbeinu Shalom, "Wait a second." He showed the beautiful points in every single Jew. And he showed how every single Jew was more special than him in one aspect. But because let's say each Jew has a special mitzvah to them, right? Every Jew has a certain mitzvah, right? That's so near and dear to them, that they love that mitzvah. And they do that mitzvah with all their heart and soul. So Moshe Rabbeinu was able to perceive, and he knew every single one of his Talmidim. He knew every single one of every single Jew, and he knew what the beauty of each and every Jew. And he presented that to the Rebbeinu Shalom. That you look at this guy, he's so special, and this guy is so special. He's so special with this mitzvah, and that's how Moshe Rabbeinu became Anav Mikol Adam, because he disqualified himself. He showed that every Jew is more special than he was in one aspect or another. Like, for example, someone has the mitzvah, they love the mitzvah of tefillin, right? So Moshe Rabbeinu said, look, I love the mitzvah of tefillin, I love to put on my tefillin, but this guy, he waits up all night, he can't wait to put on his tefillin. This guy, it's so special, I can't, I'm not doing that. I love my mitzvah too, but look, by Hashem, you'll lose that. You'll lose that beautiful part of the mitzvah if you make it with me, because I don't have that. That's one example. Okay, do you remember that now?
I think so.
Okay, fine. You want to discuss it more? Do you have any questions? No, good.
Thank you for the
Okay, Kidei la'oyroi mishinasai u'menefilasai shelo yipol legamri chas v'shalom. So therefore, the person shouldn't fall and to come to a point where he can't come back. And there is really a point of no return. That's really the way to say it, right? In other words, when we realize that it's that time of chatzos, it's so dark in the person's life. But really, when it's so dark, it means it's really so light, right? You know that, right? When it's so dark, means it's really, really light. Why? What do you mean, why? Can I ask you a question? If you went outside now and you tried to look at the sun, is it light or is it dark?
It's light.
Very light. So, but if you look at the sun, what's going to happen? It's going to get dark to you. Mm-hmm. It's going to be dark. But is it really dark?
It's really light.
Right? In other words, we said before in Davening, Yoitza Or Uvayrei Choshech. Right? So Nosson writes in Hilchos Psukim, he writes further on. So he says an idea, like, what is this idea of Yoitze Or Uvayrei Choshech? Right? Amazing. He says, we have the ability to perceive something a little bit above us. We always have to do that. We have to think something a little bit higher than we are. We're in the world of Asiyah. We're in the world of doing. So we can perceive a little bit of what it's like in the world of Yetzirah, perhaps. So that's why he says, Yotzer Or. The world of Yotzer, the world of Yetzirah, is Or. Uvayrei Choshech. But the world of Bria, which is the next world, it's so bright, it's so light, it's to me dark. I perceive it as dark. So here I'm just reversing it. That really it's very dark in a person's life, but really when he finds that Nekuda Tova, it becomes very bright. He reveals how bright it is, because he reveals that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is with him in that problem. See, the problem is we think that Hashem is only in the base medrash, Hashem is at the kotel, the Hashem is at Maras HaMakpelah, but He's not with me if I find myself in one of these crazy places. Hashem's not there. But when I perceive that Hashem is there in those wherever I find myself, that He's there, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is everywhere in the world, right? The world doesn't exist without the Rebbeinu Shalom. So when I can connect myself to Hashem in that low place, that's so big. That's so big. Perhaps it's bigger than someone that's a great tzaddik connecting to Hashem in a great place. Because he's revealing Hashem in that dark and dismal place. And that brings tremendous light to the world. Make sense? Yes. Yisro Na'or Min HaChoshen. Exactly. Exactly. Vayekel lechavim be'eish shekemat kekemat yipol chas v'sholem oz daike yorbai b'chazdei latzilei la'iroi. And that's the whole point. That even if I'm falling down and I feel I just need to be mechazik myself a little bit, and I could be through that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will help us to save us. The bechinas ki yipo lo yuto. I may fall, but I'm not going to stay down. Like it says, Sheva Yipol Tzaddik V'Kam, right? What makes the person a tzaddik? He falls down, but he gets up. I don't have to stay down. You don't have to stay down. You just have to get up. We said the last time, the Rebbe brings in Sichas Haran, that if a person realizes he did something wrong, right? Person realizes he said something wrong, he didn't make the bracha right, whatever he did, he made an avera during the day. So what do? Right away, do a mitzvah. Right away, say a pasuk in Chumash, say a Mishnah, give a fruit to tzedakah, do something of a mitzvah. Why? So you break the mitzvah, you break the avera, goreres avera, right? One avera creates a next avera. You break that because now you started a mitzvah goreres mitzvah, right? Okay, so you don't have to stop. V'chinet seifa. Right, to look, to gaze for further. Hashem lo yazvenu biyadai. Hashem is not going to abandon us. He's not going to leave us abandoned. Hashem doesn't put us in a situation to abandon us. Hashem puts us in all these situations to see if we can find Him. In other words, that's an amazing idea. Hashem puts us in these situations to see if I can find Him in that place. He doesn't want us to abandon Him. That's why the Rebbe keeps saying this lesson is so important. Because everyone thinks that I find myself in this situation, and in that situation, Hashem isn't over here with me. How can I connect with Hashem over here? Right? How can I do that? But then when you realize that you can't connect to Hashem in that place, that's the Yisro Na'or Min HaChoshen. Right? V'bechinas ki yira, ki ozlas yad v'efes v'otzav v'ozav. If a person realizes that he has no hope in anything, v'amar ru'u ata ki ani hu. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu goes on to say, I am Hashem, I am here, I'm with you, I don't want to abandon you. V'chol zeh b'koyach ha'torah shekvar kibalnu ayidei Moshe Rabbeinu. And all of this is because of the Torah that we accepted, Moshe Rabbeinu's Torah, ayidei kol tzadikim shoyu adheina, and all the tzadikim that until now, all the beautiful tzaddikim and that we wow that taught us the derech of the Torah. Now let's just see if we can do the next paragraph. And therefore David HaMelech knew the time of Chatzos through the kina, through the song, like we said. Ki haya yodeya nagin. He knew how to sing. Ki kol alimut hakodesh ana lechapes hatoiv ulahachi yeses atzma yayidei. This whole idea, this whole limud that we're learning, that we have to search to find the good, to give us life, to give every one of us life. In other words, remember to do a chesed for each one of us. We have to do a chesed with ourselves. This is all song kedaishim, holy song. Hayotze mikina shel David bechinas azamra daika ura kivaydi anevel vechina. That's what we keep saying every morning. Azamra lelekai ba'oidi. Right? In other words, I will sing to you HaKadosh Baruch Hu ba'oid ma'at sheli. I have a little bit in me, but I'll use that and I'll make it into song. Even though David HaMelech always thought that he was he was an ani. One time David HaMelech thought that he was a tzaddik. One time he thought he was, but David HaMelech knew, he was through everything. But he was always singing to the Rebbeinu Shalom no matter what level he found himself in. And then he says here, Ira Shacha, that'll awaken the morning, that'll awaken the darkness in my life. And through that, David knew how to be mechaven to the nekuda of chatzais. Anyone have any questions on this so far? No? We're good? Okay. This is the most important thing. Look at these words. So every single Jew needs this. If we want to get out of this gullus, we need to know this, that we're mamish good people. And we're all connected to the Rebbeinu Shalom. And we're not disconnected from Hashem. Ki David haya Mashiach. Who Mashiach? David HaMelech is Mashiach. Shal yodei tia gula achroina shia gula shleima she'ein acharei golas. We know that the last Geula, that we're waiting for the final Geula, and that's going to be the Geula. That's going to be la'asid lavai, and it's never going to come back. That's the final Geula. Wow. Ve'ika al yedei v'chinas zemiros v'nigunim, through song and through tunes and everything like that. B'bechinas Mashiach Elokei Yaakov u'ni'im Zemiras Yisrael. As Shmuel Hanavi said, Mashiach Elokei Yaakov Ne'imim Zemiras Yisrael. We need to have song. We need to have a harmony in our lives. That's what we need. Hainu ayidei bechinas azamra b'mheira v'yameinu amen. And now here we'll finish the piece up here. This is it now. Now listen to this guy. V'havin advarim heitev. Rav Nassim's leaving. We're finishing this topic now. For now, we're finishing this topic. We're not going to hear about this for a little while. It's another 4 or 5 chapters. David HaMelech, Rav Nassim will bring it back, but he's telling you. V'haven advarim heitev. Chevra, know these words. Ki efshel levoya hakol. I can't explain to you all circumstances. I tried to give you. David HaMelech went through davening with us. He went through karbanos. He taught us all these different ideas. Kabbalah said he taught us all these ideas. Rav Nassim gave us, but he can't give you. I can't give you every idea. Rak kol echad kifi masha oiver olav kol yemei chayav v'yemei neura v'yemei ziknusai yochel lahachiyis es atzmei tamed al pi divrei nuela. Every one of you, no matter you're young, you're old, you're in between, it makes no difference. You'll need this lesson in order to be successful. You'll need this lesson. You'll need these ideas. Shemivarim kitzas amitas ha'etzav alima lakodei shel azamar l'kai v'yoidi. The whole idea of Rabbi Nachman's Torah, Reish Pei Beis, the Torah is called Azamar l'kai v'yoidi. Why was that again? Because we have to remember, no matter what we have, no matter what level we feel we're on, we're always connected to Hashem. No matter what level we're on, we're always with Hashem. We can't be, the Shulchan Aruch starts, Shavisi Hashem le'nei summit. Hashem is there with me all the time. Right? Hashem is there with me all the time. I have to remember that. Sheheziranu adeinenu mereinu zal, that Rabbi Nachman taught us and he warned us so much. Mi'oy mo'id leilich b'zeh, ashrei shoiches by. Fortunate is he that holds on to this lesson and lives with this lesson and makes this lesson part of their lives. That every morning when I get up, and even before I even say Maidani, I think in my mind something good. I think of something good that I can connect to. So I connect to the Rebbeinu Shalom, something in the morning, the first thing in the morning. So I bring myself to a good place. And then I could say, Maidani lefanecha melech chai v'kayam, shechazata bi nishmasi b'chem l'rabba v'nesecha. Shkayach yidin.